You see, Duke, Chamath Palihapitiya makes a good point. These tariffs, although controversial, are not just about taxing imports, they are a reckoning. For over 2 decades, we've leaned heavily on outsourcing to keep consumer prices low. But at what cost? The middle class has been hollowed out, and these imbalances have repercussions far beyond just economic policies.
Exactly. It's like leaving holes in your perimeter defenses. You're asking for trouble. The cracks in our supply chains are just gaping vulnerabilities. But I'll tell you this, Emeka. Correcting that doesn't come without pain. You tax that supply line, and guess what? Prices go up. A necessary evil, though. Gotta reset the whole board.
True. Prices may rise in the short term, but there's a rebuild happening here. Take NVIDIA, for instance. A projected $5.5 billion hit because of tightened restrictions impacting their exports to China. It's not just unfortunate, it's inevitable. They've become so interdependent, and I must say, complacent in feeding global demand without investing enough locally.
And that's when the market takes a beating, right? NVIDIA stumbles, Asian tech freaks out, and suddenly, it's a ripple effect. But look, this isn't just about a few companies feeling the heat. It's about America needing to harden up across the board, just like a supply line in theater. You lose control of manufacturing your own essential tech. That's a big strategic vulnerability.
Precisely. Think of rare earth elements, critical to everything from electric vehicles to our military systems. And yet, we rely heavily on imports from China. It's a critical dependency. Imagine if those supply lines are disrupted during a geopolitical standoff. It's too easy to see how our security, economic and military, places us at a disadvantage.
Exactly, Emeka. It's like, how are we supposed to run a mission if HQ can't even resupply you with ammunition? Those trade deficits are more than numbers. They're weaknesses staring us in the face, and rebuilding means bringing those middle-class jobs back. Manufacturing, infrastructure, tech. We got to get Americans back into the driver's seat on this thing.
Indeed. It's about resilience. These tariffs might feel like a blunt instrument now, but they're recalibrating the scales. What we're witnessing is not just an economic correction, but a national security imperative. We must, at all costs, invest in securing our supply chains. Much like strategy on a battlefield, Duke. Every piece matters in the grander scheme.
Every piece, Emeka. And by forcing these companies to step up and build what we need here, we're not just talking about surviving the now. We're gearing up for the long haul, because if our supply chain fails in a real crisis, it's game over. This is the kind of fight America can't afford to lose.
Duke, as we think about recalibrating those scales and ensuring resilience, it's worth looking at Trump's playbook. He claims there's confidence in cutting fair deals, yet at the same time, China pushes back, calling for mutual respect and balanced terms. It's not just about recalibration or economics. It's about the message of strength we're sending. But at what point do we ask, does that strength clash with principle?
It's like setting terms for a surrender. You don't come in weak, but you also don't overplay your hand. China's message isn't just posturing, it's tactical. They want to make it seem like they've got time on their side. But make no mistake, their strategy isn't bulletproof.
Indeed. And Powell stepping in with concerns about inflation underscores the stakes. He warns tariffs could slow economic growth. Yet Trump's adjustments, like port fee strategies, show nimbleness. It reminds me of adjusting troop deployment in real time to counter an evolving threat.
Exactly, Emeka. If you're not maneuvering on the front lines, you're dead in the water. Port fees and incremental moves, those are like setting rally points to gauge responses. A lot of folks criticize Trump's tariff pushes, but the man's thinking a few steps ahead. Strategic recalibration is key.
It also highlights a broader issue. America's approach to adversaries like China is reactive rather than proactive. Jerome Powell's warnings are significant, but they're not the only layer here. Tariffs are more than just numbers. Their ripple effects, economic and strategic, redefine global alliances and dependencies.
And that's the fight I'm talking about, Emeka. In any mission, collateral damage is part of the calculation. Yeah, markets will jitter, but the long game is to position America as the heavyweight who doesn't just defend, but dictates. Powell's right to be cautious, but if tariffs rebuild industries, worth the price any day.
Duke, remember, war isn't just fought with bullets, it's also fought with leverage. This is why China's demand for equal negotiations and respect can't be ignored. They're reinforcing their shield while America sharpens its spear. It's an intricate duel, much like drafting a battle strategy, each side anticipating the other's next strike.
But that's where precision comes in. You can't just go all in without fallout plans. Strategy isn't just about attacking, it's about outlasting. And for America to endure, we've got to embrace the uncomfortable truth that discomfort is how you win wars. Step back from complacency, reinforce those domestic supply lines, and take command. Picking up on what we were discussing, Emeka, this truly feels like a delicate balancing act of leverage versus endurance. China's response, throwing liquidity and stimuli at their economy, almost seems like a calculated gamble to outlast the discomfort we talked about. But let's not kid ourselves. That kind of play has a shelf life before cracks start to show.
True, Duke, but in the Igbo way we say, a snake is never without an escape route. China's approach is calculated. They're addressing vulnerabilities that we exposed with these tariffs. Liquidity injections, stimuli. That's not desperation. That's preparation for a long-drawn standoff. We must not underestimate their resourcefulness.
Fair point. But money can't patch a ship that's already sinking, Emeka. They've got demographic issues, foreign investment drying up, and those supply chains choking from restrictions. That's like trying to resupply a retreating unit. It buys time, not victory.
And yet, Duke, time is what they're betting on. Powell's concerns about long-term inflation and Wall Street's stability highlight something critical: the fragility of even our own system. The Federal Reserve may act independently, but political pressure is mounting. We can't afford cracks when the battlefield is this global.
Exactly. The Fed's playing chess too, trying to keep the market steady under artillery fire from this tariff war. But Wall Street's not the front line. It's the factories, the infrastructure, the hard assets. That's where the real fight is, building back what we let slip, brick by brick.
You're right, Duke. But we must also look beyond immediate economic concerns. China is shoring up alliances, ensuring they're not caught in American crosshairs alone. It's a strategic pivot, a signal to smaller nations that their survival might depend on siding with Beijing. If we don't reassert our magnetism globally, the scales could tip against us.
And that's why we've got to leverage what we've got. America's the primary consumer market, and that's a weapon most countries can't resist. But Emeka, we can't just rely on demand. We've got to show strength in production, in tech, in those rare earths you mentioned earlier. If we can't make it here, we've already lost.
Indeed, Duke. It's as they say in war. To win, you must control both supplies and strategy. Economic security supports national security. And while we recalibrate through these tariffs, the long-term game remains clear. Reduce dependency, wield alliances wisely, and keep the balance of power tipped in America's favor.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Emeka. This is a battle we can't afford to half fight. Every move, every tariff, every negotiation sets the tone for decades to come. And if nothing else, it's time we reminded ourselves that resilience isn't built in comfort. It's forged in pressure, in chaos.
Precisely, Duke. Pressure shapes strategy and tests resolve. The winners of this economic duel will be those who adapt without losing sight of their core strength. And with that, my friend, I think we've laid out the battlefield well today. Always a pleasure navigating these global waters with you.
Likewise, Emeka, and to our listeners, stay sharp, stay informed. Until next time.